hi there, and welcome to Home Wizards, where we love to improve your home and improve your life. I'm Cindy Dole.
Hey, I'm Eric Stromer. Yeah, I am. I got to tell you, coming in here this morning, driving in, I was really kind of hearkening back to a time, maybe a better time perhaps, when hardware stores were in existence, where they weren't the big box stores, but they were the mom and pop store on Main Street, right? Main Street, USA. There was one in particular in my hometown of Evanston, Illinois, called Lemoy Hardware. And you'd walk in, there'd be, light shafts coming through these windows with dust in them, and then old spills on the floor. And then the best part of the whole thing would be a crotchety guy that would kind of hobble over and go, "What do you need?" And you'd be like, "Oh, I need a 5/8 screw that's like 17 inches long." Yeah, come over here, I'll 7. And then he'd take you right there, immediately find exactly what you were looking for. And along the way, you would see like 19 things that you couldn't get anywhere else in the world, like little specialty items that weren't available in other types of stores. And it kind of makes me feel like with this convenience, quote unquote, of the big box store and the large hardware outlets, what you start to miss really in that is the ability to kind of interface with somebody who's been doing this 100 years, really knows what they're doing, and knows how to steer you in the right direction with, explicit directions. And they really care about what they're doing. And there's a couple of these guys that I've met through my life. I call them hardware heroes. And I use them as references in my contracting business. Even though they were like retired firemen or guys that had been in it forever and ever, they really seem to know this world more than anybody else. And
I got to tell you, though, I do miss that too. But you know what? Even though, and sometimes they aren't, I think they're almost like Santa Claus. Some of the guys, They have like this little twinkle in their eye,
They do. That's because they know where the 5/8 by 17 is.
But let's talk about not only, relying on these smart hardware heroes and how to gauge if they really are one or not. But, for someone like me, when I go to the hardware store, and I know that a lot of guys who are, thinking about, they're almost fantasizing about retirement and the day when all they can have to do is go to the hardware store. It seems like, you end up going multiple times regardless. And
sure.
then if you don't know what you're looking for or how to navigate your way, it can be paralyzing.
Yeah.
I mean, we need some tips on how to navigate our way through a hardware store because some are more helpful than others.
Sure. Yeah. And I think one of the main things to do is if you can support your local mom and pop shop in your town, it's really imperative to do that. The reason being is that they're going to go away soon. They're sort of like that. It's that feeling where the Walmart shows up on the outside of town and then Main Street kind of slowly dries up. It has the same feeling.
It's like Americana, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It's a slice of Americana, and it gives you the information access to that world that we don't normally walk in if we're not contractors and people that do this for a living. So
as a contractor, what would you say when we first walk into a hardware store, what should we be armed with in our mind? What are we looking for?
Well, unfortunately, I think you do have to do a bit of profiling. You've got to look for some of the folks in the orange aprons in the big box stores, for example, who look like they may be a little bit older. And I hate to tell you, but a lot of times I find if I go into one of the larger stores and there's a guy that's 17 who's like, I don't know. I think we've got waiters. Let me ask the other guy. And then he'll go to the older guy or gal who are the veterans, and they really do know what's going on.
If they do at all. Sometimes you're just left there standing in the aisle.
Yeah, and you just hear the echo of the intercom system going, we got someone on aisle 7. And then 40 minutes later, my beard has grown, Rip Van Winkle length, and still nothing's happened. So here's what you do. You either find someone that looks like they've done this before, or you go directly to the manager's desk at the front of the store if it's a big box store, because they'll have a contractor area and you will always be fed someone who knows what they're doing through that area of the hardware store.
The contractor area.
Yeah, they sell direct to the contractors or to the trade. So
if we're not a contractor, but we just go to the contractor area, we'll get better service?
You will definitely get better service.
Even if they know we're not a contractor?
Yes, absolutely.
They just have to?
Well, because they're not going to bring some knucklehead over there who doesn't know what they're doing. They'll bring the guy that they know
they won't say, hey, lady, you don't belong here. You're not not part of the team.
Absolutely not.
Really?
No. Yeah, because they're in service. That's what they're there for. But when you just show up in an aisle and the guy's there sort of, with the tats and the, gold tooth, you're sort of like, no.
And he's looking at his watch, or he's on his cell phone.
He's on his iPhone. He's on his phone. He's texting his girlfriend. Are you sure you're pregnant?
Wait, how did you see that was their text? You saw that?
Because
really?
I go over their shoulder.
Tall.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then the other thing to do is to understand that everything is in groups, right? So If it's a plumbing situation, obviously you're going to go to the plumbing aisle, and then the way to navigate through the large stores is to look up, and you'll have all the signs on the top of the ceiling there that say plumbing, electrical, tool, corral, whatever.
Okay, but wait a minute. Let's break it down.
Sure.
Plumbing is beyond just the obvious. There's some other things that are in plumbing that you may not know, right?
That's true.
I mean, it's not
and
just...
well, think about it this way. It's like your grocery store. You walk into
Which
your...
is also daunting.
It is daunting, but the one that you go to, I bet you do kind of know now because you've been going there for a while.
No, because they change the aisles around because they want me to be exposed to new products.
Boy, do I hate that.
It's very sneaky.
Yeah.
So, seriously, in plumbing, it's not just the toilets and the faucets.
Yeah.
What else are we going to for sure find
it's
in
going to
plumbing?
be, well, plumbing, you're going to have the PVC stuff for sprinklers. You're going to have the sprinkler heads. You're going to have all the copper piping and the galvanized stuff. You're going to have all the toilet things, the things to do sinks and washers and all
sure.
that kind of stuff that has to do with water.
All the
plumbing.
replacement parts.
All the replacement
for your
parts.
toilet, for your
sinks.
sinks.
It'll all be in that grouped area for sure. Because
Uh-huh.
like-kind things always have to be in like-kind aisles. That's how they do it.
So I needed a PVC pipe because I wanted to save our koi from predators. So I was experimenting.
You're going to beat the heron with a PVC pipe.
Now it's right. Well, I'm not beating him, but I'm using it as almost like another koi cave. And so I put a piece of PVC pipe at the base of the pond, just as an experiment. I'm trying different things because now we have raccoons. Oh my gosh!
Oh no!
So I put the PVC pipe, but I had to think, okay, now where would I find the PVC pipe? It was in plumbing. You have to really kind of know.
Sure.
It's more than just the obvious.
Yes, but
know?
As soon as you understand that plumbing encompasses all those things, here's what I would suggest: if you don't have access to a mom and pop store, but it's only big box, go walk through it when you're not in dire need of some piece that's going to save your house. Walk through it when you're casual and you're just sort of browsing, and familiarize yourself with the blueprint of what that store is.
Well,
lumber is lumber, plumbing's plumbing, electrical essentially is the way.
And one thing that I
out.
love about a hardware store, the old one, is the way that it smells. And some of the things that you can find, did you know, I love that you can turn an old tool cabinet into something that you could use perhaps as a guy kitchen table.
Oh, yeah, I know. There's
Anyway,
so many things.
We're going to hang on. We'll have that next.
Okay. All right.
Star with Cindy Dole. You're listening to Home Wizards as we love to improve your home and improve your life.
I can do anything you need. Yes, ma'am. I'm your fix-it man. Our house is a very, very, very fine house with 2 cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard. Now everything is easy 'cause of you.
So when you go to the hardware store, Eric Stormer, Cindy
Yes.
Dole, this is Home Wizards. You were just listing off all the different aisles: the plumbing,
Sure.
the electrical, the.
So look at your local hardware store in grouped things. So you've got your electrical supplies, you've got your plumbing, you've got all of your screws and bolts and nuts and nails.
Your doohickeys.
Your doohickeys, that's essentially all your hardware stuff. Then you've got lawn and garden, you've got specialty items during the holidays. And those will be on the end caps. Usually they'll be featured later in the different seasons, right? So it's laid out very, very specifically.
Cleaning supplies,
janitorial, trim, wood, baseboard,
light
power.
bulbs.
Then they all have a tool corral, which is where they sell all the
And then
power
paint.
tools. And then paint, right? Right.
What is it about when guys go into a hardware store? It almost feels like that. I don't know. Do you feel this way? Since you are a contractor, you probably don't need to ask any questions. But like my husband, it's almost like they don't want to ask questions.
Well, that's male answer syndrome.
Is that what it is?
Oh, yeah.
Even though there's some help there.
It's a really good indicator of how the relationship in your life goes with your loved one. If you're lost and you do not ask for directions but get a red face and drive faster, chances are you're going to have problems.
You're kind of in denial.
Yeah, beware male answer syndrome, and definitely ask and put yourself out there, and don't be afraid to hover over the guy if he's helping 2 other people at the same time, because that's the only.
You'll learn something.
Because they'll run out of the aisle and they'll run and get to their lunch break as soon as they can because they don't want to talk to people anymore. So you have to hover, and almost like basketball, you have to guard them, and you can't let them out of your sight. Yeah. So anyway, the general overview of the store is imperative, so that when you're not in crisis or an emergency is when you go and you kind of review the layout of the store, and then you could even ask the management to walk you through the aisles and say, I just want to kind of tour this store. If it's
really?
a slow, yes, I've done that.
They'll
before.
have time to do that.
If it's
on
later,
a weekday,
if it's
maybe.
later at night, right? and it's almost about to close, like around 8:30 or something.
Can I have a tour of
There's
the
nobody
store?
there. Yeah, just show me around and where
That's
do
a
I get
smart
certain
idea.
things. Yeah, and the managers will all do that.
How about this?
Yes.
You go to your favorite coffee shop.
Yeah,
And you
get
get
hopped
it-
up on coffee.
Well, not only, but you bring a spare. You bring a spare latte or something and then you treat the manager and say, "Hey, I got a coffee for you.
Sure.
Can you give me a quick little tour?"
Yeah, and then can I always have you as my go-to person? That's the other thing. You find a point person in the store that you really like. Make it a manager and say, "Listen, if I ever need something, can I come just to you?" And he'll be absolutely obliged to do that. That's what they're trained to do. So make sure that you utilize those resources. Don't go in there wandering around like you're lost in the forest and wait for somebody to come. They're never going to come to you. So make sure that you aggressively pursue them. Okay. So it really is
To form a relationship. It's like anything.
Yes.
It's like
Well,
who you
listen-
hired to help you around the house.
And listen to this. Like for my life as a contractor for 20 years, it was all about having relationships with suppliers and having that point person at the tile store or the furniture place or the refrigerator
It's
place.
like you're assembling a team.
There's
you
no
know?
question.
I mean, when I see a doctor or a dentist,
Well, yeah,
or even a hairstylist,
I have
they're
a
part of your team.
I have a relationship with the assistant because I know she'll get me through all the red tape at the doctor. For example, her name is Kim. I love her to death. If I got to get a throat culture, whatever, I call her. I don't go through the traditional means of getting to the doctor because I'll never see him. They'll tell me I have an appointment in May. You know?
So the same thing with the hardware
Same
store.
thing with the hardware
it's
store.
basically people skills. You just need to kind of
Yes.
get to the right person, be nice to them, and
Yeah.
form a relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And not nice just because you're trying to get something,
No,
but genuinely
truly-
you really want to know how you can be serviced when you need something desperately.
And I think that some of those veterans, they really are veterans of the hardware store.
By
they
the
have
way,
such pride, you know.
I love those guys. There's a guy in particular in an area that I live now in California, and he's probably about 70 years old. He was a fireman.
70?
His fingers are
Oh.
like 5 inches wide, right? He's
Yeah.
just one of those guys. When he holds the screw, you know you're talking to the man, right? You can hardly. It's everything he holds in his hand to show you how to do it is dwarfed by this huge mitt of a hand, right? The guy's been through everything. He's seen everything. He knows exactly what you need at all times. I think I love him.
But
I
you
really
know
do.
what? I bet he loves you. You can tell
Yeah.
that those people, they're doing it for what my dad would call psychic income.
There's no
They're doing
question.
it because the pay probably isn't very much.
No.
But they love to share their stories, and they
Yep.
love to truly help. And who
Yep.
doesn't want to help? I mean, that's why I love going to the Apple store.
Yes.
You know,
That's a
I
good
mean, it's
point.
that Genius bar. I mean, you feel like, oh my gosh, someone will actually listen to me and talk to me.
Yeah, and,
We're so
and-
deprived.
And this is an interesting observation too. You know, men love that feeling of being on a team, whether it be a team at work in the accounting office,
Football team.
of whatever it is. They love to hang around and like shoot the stuff while they're hanging out together. So if you can kind of infiltrate that circle and that concept that's what they like to do, they got to talk about some dumb joke they're going to tell you, and then they'll help you. If you let them go through that little process, they will be there forever and they'll help you forever because they just love that
It's a
pack
puppy dog.
mentality.
It's a puppy dog
Yeah,
is what it
exactly.
is.
So if you can infiltrate the inner circle, even if you wear the Lowe's vest when you want. No,
Oh,
I'm kidding.
geez, no, it's really bad. Well, let's talk about some of the really neat design things that you can find
Yeah.
and assemble for your home in terms of decorating ideas that you can steal from a hardware store.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, you can use some basic things that we've talked about that you'll find in the plumbing section
Right.
as a
Yeah.
decorative thing,
Well, there's no question. You know what I love?
or in the light bulb section.
Yeah, the thing that I really love is utilizing some of these toolboxes on wheels
Oh, yeah.
as kitchen counter devices.
Yeah,
or
talk about
storage.
that. What-
yeah, like they'll have these Craftsman, for example, toolboxes on wheels that are about cabinet height, and they even go
They're
go
made
up
out
to
of
about
metal?
5 feet. They're made out of metal. They've got ball bearing drawers. I've seen it a lot in modern kitchen design where you'll put, all your kitchen supplies if you have room in the kitchen, and it's a little more modern looking.
Very
It
masculine.
can be bright yellow, red, whatever, and it really pops. It can wheel around. It almost looks like like you're in an auto mechanic shop, right? But that's a kitchen place to store all your utensils. It's really
That'd
kind
be
of a
really cool
thing.
if you had a kitchen where you were going for kind of like a red and black look, and then
Yep.
you had this red Craftsman or any kind of brand, tool cabinet on wheels. That would really look slick.
Isn't that great?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then also things like there's this really amazing product where some tools will just have bare metal handles, but they sell this thing where you can actually dip handles of tools into a rubberized product that coats the product itself, so that now you have padded hand grips on them.
Got it.
Yeah, and I've
like a rubber coating.
A rubber coating kind of thing. That's an amazing thing. You could actually do that with some of the knives at home that don't have handles, and gives you that sort of that craftsman kind of a look.
And that's what it's called. What Plastidip? It looks like
Plastidip. Exactly. Don't confuse that with nacho stuff, because that'd be tough on the digestive
But it literally
system.
adds like a yellow coating, that kind of a
really
thick,
does.
rubbery. That's kind of interesting.
Yes, I like it.
How about a ceiling medallion? You could get that at a hardware store.
Yeah, and a lot of the old hardware stores will have specialty hardware, for example, like ceiling medallions or switch plates or moldings, anything like that, old doorbells. And those medallions look really beautiful because it kind of dresses up the area where the fixture or the chandelier hangs from the ceiling.
We have one of those, and it really makes a difference. I mean, you don't want something that's too garish and too big, but just the right size, don't you think?
Exactly.
It adds a lot.
And then whenever you need casters, things, little rolling wheels that'll go on the bottom of things that you want to roll. It feels to me like the smaller stores usually have a better selection of those. So if you're ever in the market for that kind of a thing, go to your local mom and pop store. The big box stores will carry maybe 2 or 3 sizes, whereas these other stores will do a variety.
And some of them also make sure they have a break, right? Especially if you're going to use this in your kitchen or in an area where you don't want it to run into somebody. That'd be a good idea to put those casters like maybe on a little mini bar or table of some kind.
That's
now
exactly
this
right.
is now your chopping area.
That's
this
right.
Is your
Yeah. Also things like boat cleats, things where you want to tie off a shade on your wall, or specialty hardware that you don't find normally, because these big box stores will literally just feature things that are very rudimentary and basic. They won't get into the more custom side of things. So if you want to have sort of more beautiful finishes, decorative brass, chrome,
right,
brush stuff, you may want to go to a smaller, more specialized store.
Well, the idea of a boat cleat is very cool. I've seen that done where it has kind of a longer handle. You can picture like a boat being tied up to the dock, right? And now if you were to use that as handles, right, the bling on your drawers in your kitchen, wouldn't that be kind of a cool idea?
Fantastic, yeah. And then also there's always a ton of knob selections too, and pulls. Knobs and pulls will be definitely in greater abundance in the smaller mom and pop stores, more varietal kind of stuff rather than just the simple things you would see in an everyday hardware store.
And in terms of light bulb ideas too, I mean, they have some fun keyless lamp holders that you can get, in those hardware store sections to kind of give you an instant little piece of lighting now in your closet or in your bathroom, right?
And speaking of keys, when's the last time you saw a key cutting machine in a big box store? They just don't really do it much,
They don't.
They really do, though, in these smaller stores. I love that, where you get the house keys cut and you hear the sound and the metal's kind of shooting on either side of the guy who's got the apron on. By the way, the apron too, really makes it. I love the apron. Fantastic.
You got to have the apron, right? Well, one of the other things that I love in a hardware store is some of the different kitchen decorative things. And in fact, if you pay attention, you can find things. Gosh, I bet they even sell wine in some hardware stores.
Oh.
Some hardware stores, in fact, they even serve Coke, like a little coffee and Coke. And then at 5 o'clock, they serve wine. Just to kind of keep you coming in.
Why not?
Isn't that why not?
They got to do something to keep people showing up.
When you drink the wine, have you ever thought about using cork for different decorative things? When I was in the wine... where were we? We were in the wine country in Napa, I guess it was.
Sure.
In one of the stores, they saw a wreath made out of cork. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. I already use cork for some of the things in my garden. Well, hang on. We'll get more to that on what you can do with wine cork as you're listening to Home Wizards. Eric Stromer, Cindy Dole. We love to improve your home and improve your life.
Oh.